Welcome to the PJ Hoop Podcast. I'm your host, PJ, and if this is your first time checking out my podcast, first and foremost, I want to thank you for taking the time out of the day to check out my podcast. This is a basketball podcast, so predominantly, yes, I talk about the NBA, but I also like to cover high school, college, and international basketball. Today's date is February 11th. It's Wednesday, 2026 at about 12 p.m. So anything that happens after 12 o'clock today won't be featured in on this episode. I want to give you guys the segments that I go over week in and week out. The first being a segment I like to call PJ's Echelon. Essentially, it's just my power rankings, and I'll give you guys the parameters for that here shortly. Another segment is a segment I like to call What's New. Now, What's New, I'm talking about any NBA news that may have happened, some type of NBA historical history that was made, or it could just be me ranting. Another segment I go over is a segment I like to call Games of the Week. Now, in Games of the Week, I'm talking about some type of NBA, college, high school, or international game that I really enjoyed watching, or a game of some type of significance. Today, we're going to check in on a local high school basketball game that took place that I went to today. And then the last segment, a segment I like to call In the Lab. Now, in the Lab, I'm talking about today's NBA rookies, high school, college, or international basketball. Today, we're going to check in on some of the NBA rookies since I feel like I haven't done that in a while. But I also want to give you guys a heads up. I'm actually ready to go out on a trip tomorrow. Actually, I'm about to head to Detroit, Michigan to see one of my OGs, but also I'm going to go to the Michigan versus UCLA basketball game. So I want to give you guys the parameters for next week's episode because it's going to be a little different. Plus, the NBA All-Star Weekend is upon us. Next week, we're going to check in on my championship bubble, kind of revise that, look over that, and talk about that. We're also going to check out my way too early top 30 big board for the college, for all my college players. I'm going to give you guys my top 30 prospects. Really, since we're getting closer to conference tournament time, we're also getting closer to March Madness time. So kind of want to give you guys where I'm at with that. And then also for Games of the Week next week, I'm probably going to do Michigan and UCLA. And then for In the Lab next week, we're going to talk about some of the prospects that play for the Michigan Wolverines. Okay, so let's dive straight into it. I don't want to waste any more time. Let's start with our very first segment. My first segment is a segment I like to call PJ's Echelon. Now, PJ's Echelon, understand that this is a progressive list because I am a progressive man. I'm not a perfect man. And I want to give you guys the parameters that I like to use when I'm giving out my power rankings week in and week out. The first being the team's strength of schedule. I test statistically where the team sits, but then also the team's record. I don't want to waste any more time. Let's dive straight into it. My number one team this week is none other than the Detroit Pistons. Detroit right now, they're 10th in offensive rating, they're second in defensive rating, and they're second in net rating. Defensively, they just like a bunch of grown men out there. The way that they're covering ground, the connectivity they have on defense, the physicality that they play with, I think that physicality is really going to be able to really show itself during the playoffs. So I'm really looking forward to their matchups. They still got 2 games this season against the Cavs, so I'm really looking forward to that. Right now, they're 16-6 against teams above 500. They got the 7th toughest remaining schedule on the slate. They still got 2 games against OKC, 2 against the Spurs, 2 against the Cavs, and 2 against the Timberwolves. But they're the number 1 team this week for me on my power rankings. Number 2, this team is 41-13, and that is the Oklahoma City Thunder. Oklahoma right now, they're 4th in offensive rating, 1st in defensive rating, and they're 1st in net rating. So they're still allowing teams to shoot lights out from 3, which they're giving up the 5th best 3-point percentage to opponents on the season at 37%. But on a positive, they're 1st in opponents' field goal percentage at only 43%. They're 16-10 against teams above 500. They got the 2nd toughest remaining schedule. They still got 2 games against Detroit, 2 against Boston, 2 against the Knicks, 3 against Denver, and then 1 against the Cavs. We'll see how OKC looks coming out of the break because, you know, they got injuries and stuff going on right now. Number 3, this team is 34-19, and that is the Boston Celtics. Boston right now, they're 2nd in offensive rating, 10th in defensive rating, and 3rd in net rating. So I personally could argue the Spurs being here at this spot. I really think I can for how they've looked. But I liked how Boston's defense has kind of shown. Their defense has slightly gotten better since the last time I've done my power rankings. But also they had a quality win at Houston against the Rockets without Jaylen Brown. So I want to give them some love for that because the Spurs have had a pretty easy schedule. So that was the most impressive win to me out of both teams. They got the 6th toughest remaining schedule. They got 2 games against OKC. They got 1 game against the Knicks, 1 against the Cavs, 1 against Denver, and then 1 against the Spurs. Tatum's return is looming. Number 4. This team is 37-16, and it is the San Antonio Spurs. San Antonio right now, they're 9th in offensive rating, 3rd in defensive rating, and 4th in net rating. They're on a 5-game winning streak right now, which is the longest active streak in the NBA. They got the 11th toughest remaining schedule. They got 3 games against Denver, 2 against Detroit. They got 1 game against the Knicks, the Celtics, and Houston. And I think they're really gearing up and primed to have a big second half of the year. That's my prediction for the Spurs. Number 5, this team is 34-20, and it is the New York Knicks. New York right now, they're 3rd in offensive rating, they're 11th in defensive rating, and they're 5th in net rating. So they moved up. I kind of had them in the doghouse for about a month, but I like what I've seen from them as of late. They're 9-2 since they had their player meeting. Their connectivity on defense for sure has improved. Do I think that this team can win the title? No. But there's no doubt in my mind that they have shown life in this dogfight. Number 6, this team is 33-19, and that is the Houston Rockets. Houston right now, they're 6th in offensive rating, 5th in defensive rating, and 6th in net rating. So they lost back-to-back. They lost back-to-back games at home, and it was hard to watch. It was hard for me to watch, so I kind of slid them down a little bit on my power rankings. Didn't kill them for it. I'm really interested coming out of the All-Star break. Couple things. I'm interested to see how KD handles the second half of the year, because I felt like the back end of December and then all of January, his workload was really heavy. So I'm interested to see that. How does he handle that? But then also they got the 8th easiest remaining schedule. So I want to see if the others can somewhat carry Kevin Durant the second half of the year so he can preserve himself for the playoffs. That's what I'll be watching out for with the Houston Rockets. Number 7, this team is 34-20, and it is the Denver Nuggets. Denver right now, they're 1st in offensive rating, 22nd in defensive rating, and 6th in net rating. So in my opinion, they should have beaten the Cavs. I felt like they had so many opportunities in transition, and they left a lot of points on the board since that happened. So I was disappointed. I was disappointed in what I've seen out of Denver that game. And honestly, the combination of, I think, the injuries this year, and then obviously this game against the Cavs, it's kind of just giving me, I'm kind of throwing in the white flag with the Nuggets. I know I told you guys about mid-December that I felt like this was the best team Denver had constructed around Nikola Jokic, and I still feel that way. But I think the injuries and then a combination of just kind of what I've seen out of them a little bit as of late kind of just makes me just want to sell the Denver stock. So I'm here to tell you guys I was wrong. Denver's not going to win the NBA title. So we got to go back to the drawing board. So stay tuned for the championship bubble next week. Number 8, this team is 33-22. And that is the Minnesota Timberwolves. Minnesota right now, they're 10th in offensive rating, 6th in defensive rating, and they're 7th in net rating. So they got blitzed at home against the Clippers. I mean, Kawhi went nuke. So somebody like Kawhi goes nuke. I mean, there's no reason for them to get blitzed, but I get why they lost. Kawhi had a masterpiece of a game. I love their pickup of Ayo Dosunmu. I love that. I literally told you guys last summer that I felt like he was somebody that I think could really be a rotational player on a championship team. So I'm glad to see that Minnesota kind of got him for a bargain. I still feel like this team is such a roller coaster to me. And my sentiment around them still has not changed. I still think this is a team that is very stagnant in my opinion, but I do like the pickup of Ayo. Number 9, this team is 33-21, and it is the Cleveland Cavaliers. Cleveland right now, they're 5th in offensive rating, 13th in defensive rating, and 10th in net rating. I think the pickup of James Harden thus far looks promising. Obviously, we're only going to judge what they do in the playoffs. Even before they got James Harden, it was, what are they going to do in the playoffs? Now you got James Harden that kind of cranks up the temperature in the room. So we're going to see, hopefully Evan Mobley. I didn't look into it, but I'm hoping Evan Mobley will be back like early after the All-Star break, because I really want to see how this team looks whole. Because I think defensively, Mobley's going to need to clean up a little bit. That's lacking on the perimeter defensively wise, because James Harden's for sure, like, I think a solid post defender. He's shown that over his career and still can do that. But on the perimeter, man, teams are going to be able to get by them in the playoffs. Luckily, they're not going to have to play too many high-powered offenses in the East. I mean, the ones that they're going to have to play, Boston. They're going to have to play the Knicks. So We'll see. I'm going to be watching defensively on the perimeter how this team goes about getting stops, because against Denver, there was hardly any line of resistance. They do have the third easiest remaining schedule. They got 2 games against Detroit, 1 against Boston, 1 against OKC, and then 1 against the Knicks. So I'm excited to watch their matchups, like I told you guys, against Detroit. Number 10, this team is 32-22, and it is the Phoenix Suns. Phoenix right now, they're 14th in offensive rating, 8th in defensive rating, and 10th in net rating. So it wasn't necessary. I didn't move them down necessarily because they did something wrong. I mainly moved them down because I felt like the Knicks and the Cavs have shown me so much more than I've liked. So that's where that is. I'm hoping the second half of the year we can get a healthy stretch for this team, because I really do want to see them whole and playing and seeing kind of what can their full potential really be. And my teams on the bubble, I have the Toronto Raptors, I got the Philadelphia 76ers, and the Orlando Magic. You guys let me know down in the comment section below who's in your top 10 and who do you have on your bubble. My next segment I like to call What's New. Now, What's New, I'm talking about some type of NBA news that may have happened, some type of NBA historical history that was made, or it could just be me ranting. Today, we're kind of going to go back a little bit and revisit the second half of the trade deadline, because I was on a live stream with another podcaster when the trade deadline, when half of it like kind of finished up, but there was some deals that happened on the second half. And I also kind of want to revisit some of the ones that happened on the first half with you guys. I'm not going to take up too much time because I really want to look forward to the second half of the year. But I just want to give you guys just like kind of just a brief like opinion about some of the trades that have happened. Okay. One of them is the most obvious, James Harden going to Cleveland. I told you guys just not that long ago that I believe that him being added to this team, we already know what that means. Offensively, he's going to make everybody's jobs easier. Defensively is where I'm kind of interested to see what happens on the perimeter, because him and Donovan Mitchell are not, like, Donovan Mitchell's not horrible, but you got better. I think you got better defensive IQ with James Harden than what you had with Darius Garland. But when we're talking about stopping the ball in transition and just like little things, that's concerning for me. So I'm very interested to see how they kind of ingratiate James Harden. But then also, I'm going to be watching Evan Mobley, because I'm interested to see if Evan Mobley can cover up some of the perimeter defensive woes I think this team has. And also, they got rid of DeAndre Hunter, too. So I'm just interested. I'm going to be watching defensively on the perimeter how this team looks, because against Denver, they did not look good. Another trade was Anthony Davis. I'm not going to go over I literally wrote down like the trade, actually, like the details. I'm not going to do that right now. I really just want to talk about the players getting to their destinations. AD did get traded from Dallas Mavericks to the Washington Wizards. And I liked that this trade, honestly, for both teams. I know some people are like, oh, why would you trade for Anthony Davis? I have been on the record time and time again telling you guys, in my opinion, when you have a cheap, young, and if it's in your opinion as the GM and as the president of basketball operations, if you believe you have a good enough young core and you believe in them enough that you believe if I just add a couple vets to them, I think they can get to the playoffs, you make that trade, in my opinion. And I think that's what they did. I think that's what they did with the Trae Young thing, with the AD thing. I think it's because they believe in Phillip Johnson. I think they believe and they've seen enough out of Alex Sarr this year that they love what they've seen out of his growth. I think they really like. I think they like Keyshawn George. I think they like what they see out of Bilal Coulibaly. So I think that young core has shown enough where Will Dawkins decided, okay, let's make these are buy low, getting Trae Young for cheap, AD for cheap. If even one of them can stay healthy, that's a play-in team. If they're both healthy, it's a playoff team. It's a top 6 team in the East. Easy top 6 team in the East if they're both healthy, in my opinion. With those young guys, easy. But I was very impressed with the Wizards, and I was happy that they made that trade. I know a lot of people, I ain't gonna say a lot, but what I've seen was some people were not happy about the trade, didn't understand it. But to me, it was like, yes, this is exactly what I've been preaching on my pod. When you have a young, promising core that's cheap, and you have an opportunity to add, let's say, an all-NBA or an all-star level player, you do it, because you're kind of playing roulette in a way, right? It's like, okay, we know AD and Trae Young, especially AD, has had injury history, but if I can get, 60 games out of AD, 55 games out of AD, let's say I get 65 games out of Trae Young, get these young guys in the playoffs, get them that experience so they can refine and work on their games in the offseason, then I can get these guys moving a lot faster, right? So I love the trade for them. I'm going to go to the next one. This one, and we'll see what happens with it, but Daryl Morey might lose his job over this one. Jared McCade got traded to the Oklahoma City Thunder for a bag of chips and some baby wipes. I couldn't believe it. When I read it, I had to kind of reread it because I'm like, they gave up on Jared McCade. They literally have about 4 or 5 players that are about to be free agents this summer. Like, what are you guys doing? It made no sense to me. And I get it. You got Tyrese Maxey. You got VJ Edgecombs. I get that. But who's to say? Jared McCade does not seem like a high type of, he doesn't seem like he got a very like macho ego, like I need to start type of feeling to me. So I'm like, bro, that could have been your 6th man. Or better yet, you could have held on to him, let him have a crazy year coming off the bench next year, because then he'll be a full year removed from, coming out of his injury. Because obviously we know it takes a year, right? Like once you get back from that kind of injury, you need to play a whole year. And then that following year is typically when you show, you look a lot better, right? Because you got your conditioning, everything's back under control. So to me, it was like, bro, you guys sold way too early on him. And shout out to OKC for saying, yeah, we'll go grab him. Why not? So, and who knows? OKC might end up doing that. Be like, well, we can let him stay on the team, let him show what he really can do, and then sell him for 2 first or first later on. So I just couldn't believe they did that. Another trade that took place that I really liked was, I liked it for Charlotte. I didn't really like it for Chicago, but Chicago ended up trading Kobe White and Mike Conley Jr., who eventually got waived. But they traded Kobe White to the Charlotte Hornets for Colin Sexton, Ousmane Deng, and then 3 second-round picks. I love the trade for the Hornets. I told you guys in the offseason during my Charlotte Hornets season preview, which was previewed in their division, coming out of the division. I did a division preview episode, and it was within their division. But during that, I told you guys I felt like this was a play-in team. During my NBA season predictions, I said this was a play-in team. And they're proving me right. It just took them a little bit. They had people going in and out of the lineups. And also, they all had to figure out how to play with each other. But yeah, they're looking good. Kobe White, I think, just adds to it. I think he's really going to be a great utilities guy coming off the bench. It's going to be interesting to see if they end up extending him because he still is a free agent. Or did they just, bought low on Kobe White so they could eventually, so then they can just at least get into the playoffs, or at least into the play-in, like kind of solidify their spot in the play-in is what I'm saying by trading for Kobe White. I think it was a good trade for the Hornets, so shout out to them for that. Another trade that took place was that we watched. So this one was kind of, I'm bringing this up because it's kind of interesting. So the Hornets ended up receiving Tyus Jones from Orlando. And the reason why I'm bringing this one up is because this was really interesting because I kind of just got the information from it, was that by Charlotte doing that, they received 2 seconds from the Magic. By doing that, now Charlotte has 11 first-round picks, and they have 14 second-round picks over the next 7 years. So they're wheeling and dealing. They're doing good in Charlotte. We'll see if they can cash in or if they decide to cash in those chips. We'll see there. But then also what was interesting to me was Orlando got out of the luxury tax with that move, but they also, I believe, created a trade exception for themselves too. I think a $7 million trade exception. I don't have it in front of me right now, but I could have swore it created a trade exception for him. But then another thing that ended up happening was Jonathan Kuminga got traded to Atlanta for Porzingis. I don't know if I like the Jonathan Kuminga and Jalen Johnson combo. I don't know, because neither one of them can really stretch the floor and shoot. But it's going to be athletic, and we're going to see. We're going to see what happens. I'm going to be watching. It'll be interesting to watch because, Atlanta still got that crazy high top 4, top 5 lottery pick. So it's going to be interesting. And again, they didn't really give up much. They gave up, Porzingis? What has he really been this year for him? Again, another buy low, sell high. I mean, you got Jonathan Kuminga, and he's asked for a larger role. So we'll see what happens in Atlanta, because I don't know if Atlanta is going to be his final destination. Another trade that took place, I talked about the Ayo Dosunmu one. I really like that trade a lot. Another one was, I like Alvarado to the Knicks. I thought that was okay. That was a fine move. Another one that was interesting was that the Hawks traded Luke Kennard to the Lakers But by them doing that, they created an $11 million trade exception for Atlanta. So keep that in mind. They got that in their back pocket for the next year. So I expect that trade exception to be used. 11 million is a pretty solid number. Another one that happened that I think was kind of just interesting was Denver traded Hunter Tyson to the Nets. They created an open roster spot, and they also get out of the luxury tax as well. And that also gives them a chance to go into the buyout market if they choose to do so. Another player that just hit the buyout market was Jeremy Sohan. Jeremy Sohan. He just entered the buyout market today, so it's going to be interesting to see where he ends up going as well. Another trade that happened was Ben Mathurin ends up going to the Clippers for Ivica Zubac. The most interesting thing out of this trade, which I think we all can agree, is the trade is the first round pick protections. It's top 4 protected for Indiana, and it's also so it's 1 through 4 protected for Indiana, but then also is 10 through 30 protected for Indiana for this year, 2026. But if it falls between 5 and 9, it goes to the Clippers. So I thought that was really interesting. I've never seen that happen before, but just an interesting way for Indiana to try to grab an extra asset. If it does not convey this year, though, it just turns into a 2031 unprotected first. Also, they also received a 2029 unprotected first already in the deal as well. But I like the trade. I like the trade for both sides. Solid trade for both sides. The Clippers get to kind of restart and build around Darius Garland and Ben Mathurin. While also the Pacers, in my opinion, get a better center in Ivica Zubac than what Miles Turner was, and that's just my personal opinion. Another thing that happened was Cam Thomas got cleared off of waivers to the Bucks. That kind of surprised me. I ain't gonna lie to you guys, since they do have Ryan Rollins, they do have Kevin Porter Jr., who I told you guys in the preseason when I did my season preview episode for the Bucks that I believe that Kevin Porter was gonna have a year that he had like similar to the one he had in Houston. I told you guys that, and he's been doing that. So I don't understand what the rationale was behind getting Cam Thomas. Other than maybe Giannis was like, hey, I want Cam Thomas. I don't know. I would have liked to have seen him. Personally, if it was up to me, I think he really could have been used on a team like Detroit. I think Detroit really could have used his offense a lot. But, yeah, he's going to be on the Bucks. So we're going to see how that looks and how that goes. But that's all I wanted to talk to you guys about. You guys let me know down in the comment section below, what trades during the trade deadline did you guys enjoy? And what players do you guys think in the buyout market should we be looking out for? My next segment is a segment I like to call Games of the Week. Now, in Games of the Week, I'm talking about NBA, college, high school, or national game that I really enjoyed watching, or it could be a game of some type of significance. This game that I'm talking about today, and this is the first of its kind on my podcast, is I'm covering a local high school game. Currently, right now, I'm located in Oregon, and so I decided to go to a local high school game because when I was looking at the McDonald's All-American nominees, I seen that there was a kid from the state of Oregon that was on it, and I was like, oh, okay, I've never seen his name before on anything else, so I was like, well, maybe I can go check him out, locally. And mind you, I haven't been to a Oregon high school basketball game in probably almost 8-9 years. Like, it's been a super long time. So I was like, well, why not? Let's go, So I ended up going. It was between number 2 Southridge at number 8 Jesuit. And that's what they're ranked in the state is Southridge was 2nd and Jesuit was 8. And the kid that I was going to watch, and the main reason why I was going to see was this kid named Elijah Thompson. He's in class of 2027. He's a junior. But he was on the McDonald's All-American nominee list, so I was very interested to watch and see what he was really about. But I'm going to let you guys know how the game went. The first half, final score in that first half was 29-30. Southridge led by 1 point going into half. But I want to give you guys kind of my breakdown of the first half. So in the first half, at the beginning of the game, Jesuit being at home, they came out, played with a lot of energy, whereas I feel like Southridge was kind of just trying to find themselves. But in the midst of them trying to find themselves, Elijah Thompson kind of took it upon himself. He got to his spots with ease. I feel like he was so controlled. And the entire game, I felt like he was very much in control. I didn't really see much happen to where I'm like, like the kid didn't really get hit off his spots. I ain't gonna say too much about the whole game. I'll give you guys my kind of like end thoughts about him at the end. I ain't gonna say too much. But at the beginning of the first quarter, he was very much in control. He ended up scoring in the first, he had 10 10 points in the first quarter. And he scored the first 10. He scored the first 10 of the team's 12 points, actually, is what ended up happening. But once their second unit came in, I felt like the second unit really brought the offense and brought the defense alone. And then we really started seeing the game kind of develop for Southridge, in my opinion. Towards the end of the quarter, Jesuit kind of started getting hot from three. They hit a couple threes closing out the quarter. And then also opening up the second quarter, Jesuit also hit a couple more threes. Second quarter, though, a couple kids from Jesuit really stood out to me, and they really put their imprint on the game. And I feel, for me at least, I felt like, and mind you, I've never seen either one of these teams play, but just based off of what I was watching, I felt like these two kids were the best players on that team. One was he was number 5. His name was Penny Harrison of Jesuit. He was doing everything for him. Shorter guy doing everything. But then also they had the number 12. He wore jersey number 12. His name was Major Williams. He was the engine of this offense every time he was in the game, but especially in the first half, he was going crazy. In my opinion, though, like I feel like at the end of the first half, Southridge should have been up at least 8 to 10 points, in my opinion. I felt like Elijah really should have been in attack. He should have been in attack mode the whole first half. I felt like he was very passive a lot. And in the second quarter, he was kind of a no-show. He had 10 points in the first and only 2 in the second. So that was kind of disappointing to me. I really liked, though, that the referees was letting them play. It was a very physical game. I mean, you could literally hear the slapping going on in the gym. So I thought that was interesting that they were letting them play, but it was nice. Second half, end of the third quarter, Southridge still led 50-42. Third quarter, kind of just some thoughts of mine was I felt like Elijah came out at the beginning of the second half, kind of put his imprint offensively on the game. He had about 3 assists in the third quarter. He had a beautiful one where he was kind of leaning and falling out of bounds, and he swung it to the other corner as he was falling out. I thought that was a beautiful, beautiful pass by him. But then I kind of seen his go-to was kind of like that Shea, right? Like where he gets to the mid-range, he kind of uses his body, uses his shoulder, and bumps off the defender and pulls up for a nice little fadeaway in the mid-range. I felt like he should have been doing that all night, and I feel like he should have done it more than what he was doing because every time he did it, they couldn't mess with him, at least in my opinion. But then on the other side for Jesuit, they in the third, they really kind of went stagnant offensively. It was really just Major Williams playing ISO ball in the third, and which also kind of led to Southridge getting hot from 3. They ended up hitting 4 threes in the third. And I thought this game was, I ain't going to say over, but I felt like Southridge had full control. But then we get to the fourth quarter. And in the fourth quarter, Major Williams, Penny Harrison, they brought life to them in the fourth quarter. They both had their hands in every play offensively and defensively. And they got them back in the game. Those two guys, so shout out to both of those dudes. They were going crazy. And like I said, Major Williams, I don't know how many points he finished with. I didn't try to figure it out because I was trying to get out of the building. But he had to have had like 23 to 25, maybe more. Because he was hooping most of the game. But that third quarter, man, he was feeling it, man. He had like probably 12. He probably had like 12 in the third. So, but the most crazy thing happened with just about less than 0.3 seconds, like hardly anything on the clock. Number 10 of Jesuit, his name is Joe Stimson. He ended up hitting right inside the half court a bank and one. And the 3 tied the game, and then he went to the free throw line and hit the free throw to win the game. It was crazy. It was crazy. It was amazing to watch. It was amazing to watch. I don't know. You guys, you have those moments, right? Where like everything kind of like goes like, it kind of just freezes. Everything just looks real slow. And that's what I felt like I was watching when I seen him. And mind you, I think the kid was left-handed, but he was going right. He was leaning right, and it ended up banking. It was a nice shot. It was obviously a lucky shot, but it was crazy. And then the kid fouled him. I don't know why the other kid waited to foul him. He should have fouled him way in the backcourt, but that's another conversation for another day. I actually blame the coach of Southridge for that because you should have told your kids to foul him as soon as the inbound came in. But that's nor here nor there. My final thoughts of this game. Oh, yeah, and Jesuit won the game 59-58. So shout out to them for that big win. But my final thoughts about Elijah Thompson, fundamentally sound. I feel like he plays at his pace. I like his lower body strength. I felt like there were times where, again, I felt like just the strength, right? He was able to bounce people off of him. And I feel like for the most part, he got to his spots. Again, he didn't play with as much aggression or aggressiveness as I would have liked. I really would have liked him to take 20 shots in that game, if I'm being honest, because I felt like the other kid on the other side, Major Williams, was doing that. And I also would have liked to have seen Elijah Thompson take on that defensive assignment of trying to guard Major Williams. I would have loved to see that as well. I don't know how tall he is. He looks like he may be about 6 foot, maybe slightly under 6 foot is what Elijah Thompson is. But remind you guys, he's only a junior. But I just felt like there were a lot of times throughout this game, I felt like he could have stopped the bleeding. Towards the end of the game, there was a play where he drove, and I felt like he was trying to draw a foul. And he was close to the basket. But to me, I was like, bro, that's when you should just go to your bread and butter. That's when you go to you bounce off your defender, shoot your mid-range ball. Because they couldn't mess with him when he was doing that. So it did frustrate me that he wasn't doing that more throughout the game. But yeah, it was fun. I had fun. So you guys let me know down in the comment section below, what games did you guys really enjoy this week? And what games are you guys looking forward to this week? I'm going to let you guys know some of the NBA games coming up. Obviously, we got the All-Star game coming up. But I want to give you guys the games where they're going on right now, actually. So I guess there's no point in me telling you. But Atlanta's playing the Hornets right now. I'm not even going to tell you guys because these games are going to be going on later today. And by the time this gets uploaded, the games are going to already start. So I'm not going to tell you the NBA games. I'll just tell you the college games. So the college games coming up this week. Saturday, we get number 20 Clemson at number 4 Duke. The two top defenses in the ACC. We also get Cameron Boozer versus that veteran front line in Clemson. So I'm really looking forward to that game. Also, we get UCLA at number 2 Michigan. Like I told you guys, I'll be in attendance for that one, so that's why I put that there. I'm also looking forward to watching what's his name? Merez. I think his name is Merez Johnson. I'm looking forward to watching him against that UCLA front court, that veteran UCLA front court too, because they're both upperclassmen. And then also Saturday, we get number 24 Louisville at Baylor. We get Mikael Brown versus Tunde Yesufu and Cameron Carr. Also, we get number 16 Texas Tech at number 1 Arizona. Also Saturday, we get number 12 Gonzaga at Santa Clara. We get Allen Grave versus that veteran front court of Gonzaga. So I'm looking forward to that. I know Allen Grave is somebody that's creeping up on my big board, so kind of fun to watch. I'm excited to watch him play. Also Saturday, we get number 9 Kansas at number 5 Iowa State. Obviously, hopefully DP is playing in that game. We get number 15 Virginia at Ohio State on Saturday. We get John Mobley versus the number 3 rated defense out of the ACC in Virginia, so I'm excited to watch that. They're ranked 3rd defensively within the ACC. According to Ken Pop, so that's why I said that. Number 3, then Monday, we get number 3 Houston at number 5 Iowa State. That's going to be a fun game. We get Kingston Flemings versus Killian Touré. And then also on Tuesday, we get number 2 Michigan at number 13 Purdue. You guys let me know down in the comment section below what college or international or NBA games are you guys looking forward to this week. My last segment is a segment I like to call In the Lab. Now, in the Lab, I'm talking about today NBA rookies, high school, college, or national basketball. I'm going to try to go through this fast, so I'm sorry ahead of time. I'm just trying to go fast because I feel like the episode's getting a little too long. So I'm trying to keep my episode between 25 and 35 minutes, so kind of going a little bit over. But I just wanted to give some love to some of the NBA rookies that have been showing out the last 2 months. So I just want to give you guys a little love, kind of give you guys their numbers and just give them a little bit of love real quick. One is Nolan Traore. So far in the month of February, his minutes have increased. He's been getting a more consistent playing time. Right now, so far, only a 5-game sample size thus far. He's averaging 12 points and 6 assists, shooting 49% from the field, 39% from 3, and 80% from the free throw line. Excited to watch how Nolan handles the second half of the year. I'm pretty sure his role, he'll get a lot more consistent minutes in the second half of the year, really, since Brooklyn's trying to tank. Another player that in the month of February thus far has gotten a little bit more minutes is Kasparas Giacochonis, my boy Yak. He plays with Miami Heat. He averages right now in the month of February, 4-game sample size thus far. He's getting 23 minutes, averaging about 13 points a game, about 4.5 assists. I like Giacochonis coming out of Illinois last year, so glad to see him kind of getting a little bit more extra minutes and more consistent minutes. Another player thus far also in the month of February that's playing really well is Will Riley of the Washington Wizards, another player from Illinois. Right now he's playing about 30 minutes a game. He's averaging 18 points, shooting splits of 49, 46, and 67. Thus far, 5-game sample size as well for Will Riley. Excited. And we'll be watching closely. I'm going to be watching all these kids closely the second half of the year because a lot of these teams are going to be tanking. So these kids are going to get a good amount of run. So it's going to be fun to watch some of these kids the second half of the year. Another player, this was in January with a larger sample size, is Ace Bailey. In January, he played about 20 minutes a game, averaged 14 points, 4 rebounds. His shooting splits was 49% from the field, 33 from 3, and 100% from the free throw line. Only averaged about less than one attempt per game from the free throw line. So take that with a grain of salt. Another player in January who had a really good month was Yegor Demon. Yegor ended up averaging about 26 minutes a game. He averaged 13 points, 3 rebounds, and 3 assists. His shooting splits was 44% from the field, 47% from 3, and 82% from the free throw line. And the last player that I want to give some love to that I don't really see many people talk about because he plays on the Sacramento Kings is Maxim Renaud. He's their big man. He's the center. He went to Stanford, upperclassman. I think he left Stanford either after his senior year or after his junior year. He's older, though, for sure. I know that, and he's a stretch big because I talked about him in my season preview for the Sacramento Kings. But anyways, on the season, I'm going to give you guys his season numbers because I feel like he's had a quietly solid season. He's averaging 23 minutes a game, averaging 10.7 rebounds, shooting splits of 55.5% from the field, 27.5% from 3, 75% from the free throw line. He can shoot better than that from 3 than 27%. I promise you guys that. To me, he's looking like at least a rotational big. So it was nice to see him, what he's been doing all year. I know I haven't talked about him at all on here, but I just was waiting for the right time, really, since we've been covering high school heavy and stuff. So, but yeah, you guys let me know down in the comment section below what rookies have you guys been impressed with thus far the new year of 2026, and who are you looking forward to watching the second half of the year. Other than that, I want to thank you guys for taking the time out of the day to watch my podcast. I'm your host, PJ. And PJ is out.